Hello everybody, a very warm welcome back to the MEC-TEC garage. We are going to be working on the Lotus today. I know I said it a million times that I've got to try and leave it alone, but I want to get that head off and find out what is going on inside the engine. And at least then we know what we've got to do, what parts we need and all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's crack on. I'll get you set up looking under the engine bay and we'll see what we can get stripped off of this. It's the first time I've worked on it, this engine and I don't know what the hell I'm going to be doing, but we will find out together how it comes apart, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it will go back together in the same way. Probably not in this video, but if we get it apart and find out what's going inside, that is going to be the aim of today's video. So without further ado, let's crack on and get some work done. Right, this is going to be a voyage of discovery. As you can probably imagine, I've not even touched anything under here at the moment, so I don't know what's got to come off where or anything like that. It's all going to be new to me. So by looks of it, first thing we've got to do is take this airbox off. But looking at it, to get the airbox off, it's got a riveted bracket here which goes obviously to the throttle cable, so it looks like we've got to take the throttle cable off first, which is screwed in the middle of the two carbs there. So yeah, we're going to have to unbolt that thread there, unscrew the end of the cable from there, take that off, and then we should be able to get the airbox off. I'm just looking actually. That is a really daft design, because you can't take the airbox completely out of the way unless that unclips off of there, and I'm being daft. Let's have a look at this. No, I'm being daft. That unclips off of there. Right, okay, so we can get the airbox off without having to touch. I thought that was a bit silly. Let's have a look inside here, see what this is like. This is the first time this has been opened. I've not touched it yet. See what sort of condition this air filter's in here. Actually, don't look too terrible, to be fair. I need to get a flathead screwdriver for that. I'm going to be getting my steps in today doing this job, because I'm going to need a different tool at everything I look at. Right. That tube's seen better days, I know that. Okay, right, that's that undone. That should just pop off of there now. Come on, what's fighting me? One side's completely off, the other side's not. Oh, there's another clip underneath here, that's why. Like these two on the top, there's one underneath the bottom of it. Now I know all you Lotus guys are probably screaming at the screen saying, "You idiot, you're doing it wrong." Bear in mind, I am learning. There's the air filter. Not too horrendous, I guess, for how long it's been sitting. It could be a lot worse. Could be all eaten up by mice, and it's not, so that's good. Let's get that out of the way. We're not going to be needing that for a while. Right, next thing I think I'm going to take off is that airbox. Actually, it might be easier to take off the whole lot of carbs in one go, rather than undoing that airbox for the minute, because we're going to need to refurbish these carbs anyway. It's just whether I can get to the bolts to obviously get them off in one go or not. I think I can, because the inlet manifold obviously is over here and it bolts in over here. So if I can get to those bolts over there, I'm going to find out what size they are, and I'll come back to you in a second. Right, these are a 13mm nut. See how easy these come undone. Not too bad. Come undone really easy actually. Right, I'm going to have to get some little pots of these, because otherwise I'm going to forget where they go. I'm hoping they're all going to come off this easy, innit? Just lift off with a nut. Oh, I've got two of them nuts stuck in the ratchet now. Go on there, you. 1, 2. Where's that other nut gone? I've lost a nut. I'm not talking about the one behind the camera either. Okay, we'll find it in a minute. not the easiest thing to get to. We've got one nut down here in the corner and one nut up here in the corner, which you can't get a socket on, so I have to get a normal spanner on there, unfortunately, which is going to take a little bit longer to undo, but that's not too much of a problem. Now I have been working on the van in the background, doing some refurb work on stuff. I'm halfway through painting the column at the moment, which is why we're not back on the van today, because obviously things take a bit of time to dry and stuff like that. So I thought, well, while that's doing that, I'll try and be a little bit proactive and do a bit on this. Whether that's a good idea or not remains to be seen, but we'll find out in a minute. And that one's going to be a tricky one to get to, right down the back of there. It's always one little bolt or nut that will catch you out on things like this, isn't it? How can I get that in there? Interesting. Get it cracked open, and I should be able to do it with my fingers, but it's just getting that initial open, untight. This is why I find there's about a million more bolts somewhere else that I don't know where they are, and never going to get it undone in a million years like this. But I'm just looking at what I can see at the moment as far as undoing stuff, you know. How on earth do you get that nut undone under there? I wonder if a swan neck spanner would be better for that. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that and see if that works better. As if I don't lose this spanner down the side of the engine. Here we go. Swan neck spanner. Computer says no. How on earth do you get to that? Right, I'm going to play with this for a minute and I'll come back to you in a second. Right, after a lot of struggling and actually having to go and buy a long reach 10mm socket on a quarter drive because I couldn't get to these top stud, I've got the airbox off. Now, what's slightly worrying is there's a vent here in the airbox, and if you look inside there, it is full of gunk and soaking wet, and a load of water came out of this pipe down here when I took it off, which is not good. So that's not boding well for what we're going to find next. Now, the reason I took the airbox off in the end is hopefully so I can get some access under here to these two corner bolts. That is what I'm hoping. Let's see if I can get a spanner under here now. Yeah, I can, hopefully. It's going to be a very slow process because I think it's going to be like a tiny little bit at a time turning, but that is if I can get this spanner on here. I may have to get my modified 1/2 inch spanner on here, which has got a ground the wall on it thinner, so I can get into smaller things. It's only that one bolt that's fighting me, so I'm going to go and find that other spanner and I'll come back to you. Right, I've got that last bolt undone, and what I actually did was took this breather pipe off the block itself. That goes down in there. I'm doing this for my own reference as well, more than anything else. So now that nut is undone, in theory this inlet manifold and carbs should be loose. Should be. Obviously bear in mind it has been on here for a long time. There's two little earth wires or something on the top of here as well, which looks like they're, get those off out of the way so they're not hanging up on anything. Now I don't know if there's any more bolts on this. It is rocking as if it's loose. I think I've just got to break the seal. Apologies if the camera's rocking, but you're obviously sitting on the car with me. I don't really want to get screwdrivers and things underneath it. Tell you one thing I have got to do before I go any further is undo that throttle cable. Now I had a little black flat-headed screwdriver here literally 2 seconds ago. Do you think I can see it now? This is the story of my life, people. It's, you put something down and you never ever see it again. Where the hell's that gone? In the famous words of Derek at Vice Grip Garage, I'll never see that again. It is usually the case with most of my tools, which is why it takes me down so long sometimes to do stuff, because I lose everything. Now, I don't know where it's gone, so I'll have to hold fire on that for a minute, just see if we can wriggle these free. I don't think there's any other bolts holding them, from what I can see. Cool, greasy under there. Now obviously there's quite a few vacuum lines running around on this manifold, but I'm hoping they're all going to come off with it. I don't know if that's the coupling rocking on the carbs or the... I think it looks like the coupling rocking on the carbs. I may have to go and get a plastic dead blow hammer and see if we can tap it a bit and see if it comes off. So you've got to go quite gentle with this because it's alley. Don't want to go too mad. It's not really doing a lot of that, to be honest with you. Right, I'm gonna make sure that there's no more bolts anywhere. I don't think there is, I can't see none. There can't be any under there because it doesn't touch under there. It only touches in those bits I've undone. You've got one there, 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 one there. They are definitely all undone, so I think it's just a case of breaking the seal. Really want to hit these carbs, but I've got a choice. Oh god. Right, I'm going to fiddle around with this for a minute and I'll come back to you when I've got a little bit more movement, and also once I've found that little screwdriver I need to undo that throttle cable. Right, I've just been giving this a little gentle persuasion with a plastic mallet. It does appear to be a lot more free now, so it's just a case now of winkling it off, hopefully. Come on. All I did was tap on these corners here. I didn't hit anything else. So I'm very wary of breaking castings and things, you know, especially as it's old and it hasn't been touched for a long while. And I dare say, probably blooming expensive as well. Now this has probably got to come off dead level, which is why I'm struggling with it a little bit. It's definitely got some movement there now, so we've just got to overcome the corrosion now that it looks like it's coming. Slowly but surely. Ah, there it goes. Yes, we're off. Right, now, before I go any further, I've got to unhook that pipe there and this throttle cable. So let's do that. Once I get to that stage, I'll come back to you again and we'll get the manifold off. Right, throttle cable's off, that pipe's off. In theory now, this should all... Actually, I'm going to take these two little vacuum pipes off of here. Now, is it going to be easier to unbolt them? Possibly. Let's see if they unbolt. Now that screwdriver I was looking for was literally right next to me on the floor. I mean, why I didn't look on the floor in the first place, where everything else usually ends up in this garage, I have no idea. I know I'm rambling, but at this specific moment in time, you guys are the only person I've got to talk to. I have to try the umpteenth size spanner. What size is it? It's a 17. Ooh. Right, let's undo those. Hopefully we'll not break any plastic pipes if we undo these, rather than trying to slide the pipes off, because they look like they're a heat shrunk fit. Although they are deteriorating slightly, but still. I'll worry about that later. At this moment in time, all we want to know is what's going on inside this engine and can we save it. And I'm hoping to God that we can, because a new one, having looked online, is about £5 grand, and I don't really fancy spending £5 grand on an engine. Well, I can't spend £5 grand on an engine, I haven't got £5 grand, so we've got to repair it one way or the other. Right, those two pipes are now off, so in theory now that should lift off. Let's see what happens. What are we hooked onto? We're hooked onto something this end. Let's get me torch, let's have a look. I know you Lotus boys are probably screaming at the camera at me right now saying you've got to take this off. But this is the first time it's the first time I've ever worked on a Lotus. So, right, there's a big pipe just there I need to undo. So I am learning as I go along, so any hints and tips you might want to give me will always be graciously appreciated. My old mate Chris has been helping me out a bit. He's in the Lotus sort of circles, and he's done a fair few things like this over the years. So I'm hoping with his advice and help as well, it might be all right. But that remains to be seen, obviously. Right, now that pipe is, I've just undone it from that end. I may have to undo it from the other end because it doesn't look like it's moving off the, it goes into the water pump housing, the thermostat housing by the looks of it. This car reminds me very much of a DeLorean in the fact that everything is hard to work on, because it's one of the sort of low volume cars, if you like, in comparison to, you know, a Ford Focus or something. It's not really got serviceability and taking apart in mind, if that makes sense. And I know I've got to expect that, and it's old as well, but I wasn't expecting it to be quite as bad as the DeLorean. The DeLorean was a right pain when I worked on that. Right, in theory this should come off now. Goodness, look inside those coolant ports, they're absolutely clogged up to full with junk. Come on, what's going on? There we go. Right, now there's no coolant in this, which leads me to believe that my head gasket theory might be coming true. Let me grab the camera and I'll show you. Look inside those ports there. Absolutely furred up to the hilt. The outside two not so bad, but the middle one totally clogged up. So I've got a, looks like I've got to unhook the choke cable, which is that little screw there, and then it should be free, hopefully. Oh, I've got one on that side as well. That'll make it easy for you, will it? Has it got a screw in the side of that? It's just a bolt. Just a bolt. One's got a screw in it, one's just a bolt. That's really helpful. But I haven't got the right size spanner. That'd be silly, that'd be far too easy. Mrs. MEC-TEC's looking at me. What's up? Come on, carry on. Just putting the tumble dryer on. I've almost got the carburetors off. Yeah, that's what I thought. I wonder if a pair of needle nose pliers that I've handily got next to me will undo that. Probably not. No. Okay. That won't fit. Let's try holding that side. And I'm doing that side with another pair. I think that's going to work either. Can't get in there. Right, I'm going to fiddle around with this, get the choke cable off, and I'll come back to you in a second. Right, with the carbs now off and out of the way, I can focus on actually the engine itself. Now this tank I did the other time when we was working on it, so that's already loose. Next thing I've got to take off is these small rocker covers. I've already took the throttle cable bracket off and I put the bolts back in there for now, so I don't lose them. That would be a disaster. They've got these funny little cover plates that go on first. There's literally just this little top bit where you can see the Lotus logo. And then once these are off, underneath is the camshaft and carrier, which come off as one. So I'm led to believe. Alright, there's one off. That looks in pretty good shape in there. Now I've already had this other one off when I was trying to get the spark plug out, so I know this one comes off alright. Got an earth wire on that front bolt there. Not 100% sure what the earth is to, but I'll leave that with the bolt in it for now because it doesn't seem to want to come off, so it can be safe on there. Once you've got these off, you have to undo these funny hex caps, which then reveals the other bolts that hold the camshafts on. Now, I've been told I've got to be extra careful when I take these out as well, because these have got shims in, which are obviously all shimmed to that particular bank or lobe on the cam, I should say. So we've got to make sure they go back in the same position. And this has got a cam cover which is on a twist and unclip. I'm hoping it's all it holds it on. That'd be handy. One at the front there as well. Yep, twist and unclip. Should just lift off. Yep, okay, so cam cover off. That's good. Now, usually, obviously, when you do this, you want to get the engine on top dead centre, but I do not want to risk turning this engine with all the rubbish that's gone down that plug hole, where I've been obviously trying to get that spark plug out, so I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to take it off as is. I'm going to have to time it up after, once we get it apart, or when we put it back together, I should say. There's the other cam cover. Just getting the gasket off with it. I'm going to obviously replace all these gaskets, but I will try and just save them for now, just in case. There we go, that's the second one off. That one's still full of oil, which is a good sign. Put that up there. Right, so I've got to now find a big Allen headed either socket or Allen key that will fit in there and allow us to get these cam carriers off. Now I've got to take the cam belt off as well, which, as I say, usually you would top dead centre it, but I'm just going to have to try and take that off as it is. Well, we can just, I don't know how it's tensioned or anything on the front there. I'm going to have a look at that and see how it's tensioned. Need to get my torch in there really. I'll come back to you when I've had a little look at that and found out what I'm going to do next. Right, I've cheated a bit here and I've just knocked the belt off the two pulleys on the camshafts for now. I'm not 100% sure how it tensions up, but I'll get involved with that later. These caps, I didn't have quite the right size Allen key, but I have managed to get them all loose. So hopefully they'll all just untwiddle now. And underneath here we should be able to reveal the other ones of the bolts that we need to undo this camshaft carrier and all that sort of jazz. So I'm going to get these undone. I'm obviously going to try and, well, I've got to keep the shims in the correct positions, because if they fall out we will be in a world of pain, because obviously everything is shimmed, as I say, to that particular lobe on the cam, and I dare say that the tolerances are quite tight. Otherwise you'll end up with a clacky engine, which no one wants, obviously. I'm hoping when I lift these carriers out that they may stay in there with it, because they've been in there so long, if that makes sense. Now, for the looks of it, these are in a what they call an E-drive, which is like a reverse Torx, like a female Torx, on the centre ones and these ones, and then these two top ones are just normal nuts. So let me grab the right size E-Torx for that. I'll get those undone. Guess an E10, but I don't know. Oh yes, first time. Now is the nut a 13mm? It certainly is. Right, okay. So if this comes off without any grief, I shall be very, very happy. Right, we'll go for the normal two nuts first. Get those undone. You shouldn't have a problem with any of these coming undone, because obviously they've all been in oil, so that one's not undoing. Why is that not undoing? Yeah. Come on. I may need to get my quarter drive 13mm in there, because it's got a thinner wall. My newly acquired 13mm quarter drive as well, because I couldn't buy one on its own to get a 10, so I had to buy a whole bale of them. Halford's $11.99 with a trade card. Can't be bad, can it? Don't drop it in there. Right. I'll have to have a bit of a clear up in a minute, because otherwise I'm going to have nuts and bolts everywhere and I'm going to lose where things go, which is not ideal. Right, we'll change over to the E-Torx now, E10. Going to crack them all first of all, so there's less tension on them all. Don't know whether these are supposed to be done in a certain order, but I've got no way of referencing it at the moment because I haven't got a manual, so just going for it. Seems well so far. See the pressure come off of that one then. I've not done any damage to it. Right, in theory think this whole thing should just lift off. Hopefully with the shims as well. It's hitting this bracket for this blooming guard here. Am I going to be lucky and get them to be lined up to undo it? That's the question. Might just about do it. Let's have a go, shall we? Nope. Okay. Could be a slight issue. Bend that for a minute. Just to give me enough clearance to get it off, and then because I can't rotate anything, it's that last bolt's not undone, I don't think. Try that. Why is that end free and that end not? Got to come off dead square. Come on. Come on. Be very careful with these shims. I think that's what's holding it, actually, the shims. Oh, what was that? Come on. Mess me about. All those noises you see, the shims you can hear dropping, you see. Which is fine, as long as they stay in the right places. Quite stressful, I'm not going to lie. I don't want to cock this up, as you can well imagine. Come on. It's this damn bracket again that's holding me. Going on here. I think this one shim that's holding it. Can these come on, last little bit. It's virtually there. It's virtually there. Right, don't want to mess these shims up. I don't want to get them out of order. A bit of a quandary what to do next. I'm probably doing this all wrong, but still, as I say, I'm learning, so give me the benefit of the doubt, eh? Okay, let's try it the other way and push that shim up. There's a law for this. Come on. close. It's so close. Right, I'm going to fiddle around with this for a minute, see if I can get it to winkle off, and I'll come back to you. Right, I think I've got it. It's just stuck on that very front shim. Yes, there we go. Right, there's our shims left on the top of the valves, or top of the valve springs I should say. So now, what I'm going to do is get the bolts out of this carrier, turn it upside down, put the lifters of the cam shims in it and tape them in so they can't go anywhere. Right, I'm going to do that and I'll come back to you. Right, I thought I'd come back to you and just show it on camera so you can see what I'm doing. What I'm going to do is wipe this over to get the oil off of it. Obviously I've just got this tipped up the other way. I've got all the bolts out and I've got it tipped up the other way, but in the same orientation as it would be in the engine. And all I'm going to do is take one off at a time and lay it in. That way we know that they're all going to stay in exactly the right position and nothing's going to change, go horribly wrong. That is the theory. Now the shims, I'm just looking at it now, the shims are actually in these cups. Got these little shims in there, see? Which I assume are just located in the middle, and then why is that not going in? Such tight tolerances. So I've not done anything in by taking it off the way I did. Well, these are very, very tight tolerances, as you'd expect from a Lotus engine, I guess. So much so I can't actually get them to go back in. Well, they came out of there, so they've got to go back in. I don't want to jam it in there because obviously then we'll be able to get it back out again. No damage or anything on them. It's a shame that this spark plug snapped off like this, because I bet this engine would have run fine. Saying that, I don't even know if the bottom end's locked up yet, so I could be completely wrong. Right, you can see what I'm doing anyway. I'm going to fiddle around with this and I'll come back to you once I've done it. Right, I have got the other cam carrier off as far as being loose, as you can see, but I can't get it off the engine because it's sitting too close to the inner wing here. So what I'm going to need to do now is get up under the engine, undo the engine mount on this side and tilt the engine up. That will allow me to get access a bit more to hopefully get that off of there, and then obviously we can move on to getting the exhaust undone and then the head off. That is the plan. So I'm going to get underneath, get it jacked up, hopefully get this thing tilted a little bit so we've got a bit more room, and then I'll come back to you in a second. Right, you join me from underneath the Lotus. As you can see, we've got a massive oil puddle where it's all spilt out from that cam carrier, but we won't worry about that for the minute. This is the engine mount, I believe. Got two bolts in there which we've got to undo to obviously allow us to lift the engine up slightly, and we've also got to undo the 3 bolts on that downpipe up there. Let me grab a torch and you'll be able to see better. Up there you can see there's, I think there's 3 bolts on that. I'm hoping they're going to come undone. That will drop the downpipe and we'll leave the manifold on the head hopefully to lift it out of the, with the head, sorry, leave the manifold on the head to lift it all out in one go with any luck. That away just from obviously having any problems with snapped studs or what have you in there. So I'm going to attempt to get these undone, and hopefully we can get a block of wood and a jack under the engine, and we'll jack it up, and then we should go topside again, and with any luck it will all be absolutely marvellous. Right, I don't need to be alarmed, but I've just witnessed a miracle in the MEC-TEC garage. All 5 of those bolts and nuts, 3 nuts and 2 bolts, have come undone absolutely perfect. I don't know what's come over the MEC-TEC garage. There is a weird phenomenon going on in here, but I am liking it. So I'm praying that the rest of it stays carrying on like this. So now these are undone. They're the 2 mount bolts and obviously the 3 manifold bolts. I'm hoping when I jack the engine up that it's going to pull the manifold away from the downpipe and obviously lift up on this side. I've left the other mount done up, so obviously it will flex on the rubber hopefully and pivot on it slightly so that we can just get enough room to get the cam carrier out and then obviously the head off. So let's go back topside. Well, actually no, I'm going to jack it up first, see what happens, and then I'll come back to you when I'm topside and see what clearance we've got. Rightio, as you can see now we've got a much bigger gap here, which is exactly what I wanted. So let's hope there's enough room in now to slide this off. Now remember, we've got to keep these shims and caps in the same place. The only thing that's going to fight me now is this oil pipe. Might be able to wink it off without cam belts fighting me now. Now I know there's probably a better way of doing this, but there we go. Evan said I've not done this before, so it's all new to me. Right, make sure we don't lose any of these caps, not to mention the bolts. There goes all the bolts. Right, I'm going to put some tape over the end of these, same as I did before. Let all the bolts fall out, I'm not worried about them. Looks like all our shims are in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, that's good. Okay, I'm going to go and tape this up off just over the other side there, and I'll be back to you in a minute. Rightio, with that one now taped up as well and over safe, we can now look at getting the actual head itself off, which I'm hoping is going to come off with this manifold in tow. It does look like there's enough room there now. Having said that, it may have to come off. There's actually a bolt missing out of that one. It may have to come off from the side here, which is going to be a bit of a pain. Do I attempt to take it off as a whole, or do I try and... I'm just trying to look down there to see whether that's split apart or not, where I've undone it. Let's have a little look. Yes, it has. It has split apart. The 3 bolts that I've undone underneath there. So in theory, it should be able to be winkled out of there with that manifold on there. I don't know whether you're supposed to do it like that. As I say, I am learning as I go. Go easy on me in the comments section if I'm doing it wrong, because everyone's got to learn somewhere. So looking at it, I've got a pipe to come off there, coolant pipe. I've got what else have I got? A coolant pipe to come off the front here, which goes to the thermostat housing, and by the looks of it, that is all I need to take all this whole thing off in one go. With any luck, see what carnage I've done inside this spark plug bore. Hopefully it's not too bad. I may be tempted to change these exhaust studs while I'm in here, because I don't want to put it all back and end up with a leak on this manifold. I'm not 100% sure which way I'm supposed to undo these head bolts either, because usually there is a sequence, but obviously I don't know what it is. I would imagine it's probably, usually do it up center out. So would you undo it out to center? Not really sure, to be honest. I'm totally guessing at this point in time. I may have a quick look online and see if I can find anything of which order to undo them in, and then obviously we'll go for undoing them and see where we get going to. Now, first thing I'm going to do before I do that is undo this pipe here. As I say, that's a coolant pipe. Looks like it goes to the hot water shut-off valve. If it's got a hot water shut-off valve, that's what it looks like to me. Whether it is or not is another matter. Hopefully that will pop over there. To say, this is not the easiest car to work on, but touch wood, so far everything's coming undone, which is unheard of. I am quite shocked about that, considering it was sitting well, not even half a mile from the seafront for all those years. I'm quite impressed. Come on. There we go, that's that one off. Right, now this one might be a bit tricky because it's a very tight little elbow that goes to the, as I say, the thermostat housing. So I'm going to do both of the clamps. Maybe try and pull off the one off the thermostat housing first. And I can pull it off the head. Need a smaller screwdriver, that one's too long. I'm sure someone watching this will go, I didn't just do this to get the spark plug out. Well, I tried everything I knew how to do and it wasn't having any of it, so I bit the bullet in the end. And also now I've got to this stage where I know there's stuff inside that bore where I've obviously been drilling it, and you know, bits of easy out have gone in there and all sorts of God knows what. I don't want to risk running the engine with all that gunk in there doing more damage than what it might need or might have already, if that makes sense, you know. So that is why I've decided to go and get this off. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I'd rather do it this way and be safe than knacker a perfectly good engine. God, that's proper on there. It's going. Little sharp elbow. It's not got a lot of room to pop off the housing, if that makes sense. Come on. Alright, let's try the other end then. I thought the water pump end might be easier, but looking at it, I think the head end might be easier. Very gunky inside, I know that. Right, there we go. That's that off of there. Right, that's that out of the way. So I don't think there's anything else, unless there's anything I can't see under there. We should be good to take the head off. Right, I'm going to go online and just check if I can find an unbolting order, and then I'll come back to you. Right, I was going to try and take off the exhaust manifold first, just because I wanted to err on the side of caution, but some of the bolts on it are completely inaccessible and they're actually touching the manifold, the studs are, so there's no way of getting the nut off them. So we're going to go in for the kill, I think, and do the head and see if it will come off as it is. I'm hoping and praying it will. These are 19mm nuts. I'm going to do them sort of alternate, if that makes sense. So I've done one that side, do that one. Oh, that's tight. I couldn't find anything online, so I'm just going to slacken them as even as I can. Hopefully this works. Like I say, I don't know what the proper order is, so I'm sure someone will tell me in the comment section if I'm doing it wrong. It's all coming undone. I think that's all of them. All of them are loose now, so we can twiddle it off with this, hopefully. See what we get. There are obviously nuts and washers on here, so you've got to be careful. Got a little magnet here. Pick the washers out as well. Need to bag and tag all these in a minute, because otherwise I'm going to lose where everything goes. Grip grip's failing me. That's it. Okay. Oh, I can hear coolant on the floor. And there goes my ratchet. Coolant on the floor, what does that tell you? It tells you there's a cylinder head full of water and possibly cylinders full of water. We'll find out when we get this off. Making a mess over my garage floor, but we won't worry about that. I'll clean that up after. I didn't expect there to be any coolant or anything left in it, to be honest with you. There's been nothing in anything else. What do we reckon this is going to be like inside? Mullered or good? I'm praying for good. The top end looks good. Whether the bottom end follows it or not, we shall find out. Right, that's all the nuts and washers off. Will it just lift? What's it going to be a pain? Oh, boy. I think I should have put something underneath this. This just flooded the garage. Oh well. Never mind. No, it's going to hit. Blast. Right, okay. Can I get any more height out of that engine? God, that water absolutely stinks that's in this. It smells like old pond water. This manifold's going to cause me an issue, I think. I thought it might, which is why I tried to taking it off, but I cannot see how they come off. And now that's all on the floor. I don't particularly want to lay in it, as you can probably well imagine. See if we can get any more height with the jack. It did something, I'm sure it did. How much have we got now? Oh, that's close. Go a little bit more, it might be alright. Don't panic, I have got a block of wood under it, so it's not jacking up directly on the sump. Cool, that might just clear. Possibly. Possibly. I'm nervous about this, I'll be honest. I'm not sure I want to see what's inside. Yes, we're off. We managed to do it with the manifold on there, brilliant. Oh my goodness. Just as I thought. Just as I thought. Suspected head gasket, I think, is well and truly confirmed. That is the cylinder. Let me tilt you forward, hang on. That's the cylinder we had problems with. Look at the mess in there. I know it's full of water now, where obviously I've just spilt everything in there. There's a bit of me easy out, which is why I didn't want to turn it over. That does not look good. The others, to be fair, number one's okay. The other three, proper full of gunk. Especially that one, which is the one that the spark plug was rotted in. So I think that has been leaking for a long while. Let me get you set up. Let me see if I can set you up down here, and we'll see what we can do as far as just giving these a quick wipe out and see what they come out like. Trying to get it so you can see. There we go. I just want to I don't know the best way to do this really. I mean, obviously a lot of this water's just gone in here from taking the head off, but all that gunk that's in there, I mean, I haven't even tried to turn this over, and I'm very, very glad now that I didn't, because there is a massive amount of silt and sand and all sorts in there. Look at that. I am very pleased in a way that we've done this, very pleased. Let me go and get some sort of a bucket or something, and we'll see whether we can get some of this water out of these cylinders and give them a clean, and see where we're at. I'll come back to you in a second. Right, I've got a little tray here. This is going to be very difficult to try and get this in without slopping it everywhere, so I might have to do this in stages and just get as much of the water out as I can to start with. Then we'll give it a wipe round, get all the sludge out. I'm going to have to use a cloth to get some of this out. This is really bad. Now obviously this one is the worst one, because I have been drilling and trying to get that spark plug out in it. Get the head gasket off. Now, I've got to be careful here, because these are separate liners in here as far as I know, the same as the DeLorean. So if we do try and turn it, we've got to be very careful that these don't move, otherwise we'll be in all sorts of pain. Alright, you can see the sort of stuff I'm getting out of it. That bit of chunk of metal in the middle is the bit of the spark plug, so I know what that is. That's not too much of a problem. Right, soak it up. I'm hoping that most of the gunk in this one is actually from me trying to get that spark plug out. Number one looks okay. Bit of carbon, clean that top of that piston up. It shouldn't be an issue. What I'll do in a minute, once this has got most of the moisture, I'll get the hoover in here, and you can see the stuff that was in that one. That's nothing to do with me, that was all what was in the cylinder. That's pretty bad. But having said that, the cylinder wall itself looks good, so I'm pretty chuffed about that. I think we might be all right. I'm very, very pleased I didn't turn it over like blind, you know. I think that would have been disaster if I'd have done that. God, look at that. This is the sludge inside the water jacket. God. I'm gonna have to give this a real good flush out, because otherwise this is gonna just overheat the whole time. I'm just gonna try and dig some out from underneath here. You can see it, will you? Look. Look at all that. That is all inside the water jacket. That is horrendous. And I dare say, in fact I know what that is. That is head gasket fix. I know exactly what that is, the colour of it. So there was definitely an issue with the head gasket. I'm trying to see. We'll have to give it a proper clean up, this gasket, and see if we can see where it's blown across anywhere. Definitely weren't healthy, I know that. Which, as I say, I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm very pleased that we've taken this off. Very, very pleased. It's definitely the right thing to do. I think if I'd have tried to run it, it would have absolutely annihilated it. And as I said, these engines are not cheap, so I'm very pleased. Right, I'm going to go and grab the hoover. We'll give them a little hoover out and see what we got with after. Right, there we go. I think you'll agree that is a much improved look of the cylinders, or pistons I should say. I've given them all a clean out with some brake cleaner. I've given them a light wire brush with a drill on the top there to get rid of all the carbon. Now you will see in this one a little bit of water staining, so you can see that that one was definitely leaking. The other ones are absolutely fine. A little bit in that one, not much. So I might try, don't know what to try on that yet, to get that staining off of there. It's not too horrendous obviously, so I'm really pleased about that. I'm tempted to try some of that Quad Zero steel wool, because that's almost like a polishing wool rather than a full-on sort of scrubbing. I don't want to scrub it obviously, because I don't want to do the walls of the cylinders in. Got to be very, 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 very gentle with it. I really want to see if it turns. That is going to be the next thing, I think. I don't know whether it will or not, but I think before we do that, we need to concentrate on maybe having a little look at this head and see if we can get the spark plug out, which is why we did all this in the first place, because obviously that spark plug was stuck in there solid, and now we know why. I think because that, you can see by those witness marks where them water stains are, it was definitely leaking in that cylinder, and if not this one too. 3 and 1 are fine, but 2 and 4, which were the 2 that the spark plugs were stuck in initially, 4 came undone, 2 didn't. They're the 2 ones that I think were failing, and they were letting water by, and all that gunk in the block is definitely bars leak, or one of those potions that you put in to supposedly stop head gasket leaking, but didn't work. So I'm going to gather my thoughts, maybe clean that head gasket up a little bit and see if we can see where that was leaking from, if we can at all. That is, you may not be able to see it because it's been so long, but we'll obviously have a look. And I'll show you the head as well in a minute, and there is some portion of a spark plug left, so I'm praying that if I can get it hot enough and bend it inwards with the electrode, that it might be able to peel away from the alley, and then we'll be left with a good thread underneath. That is the plan. So I'll come back to you in just a minute. Right, I've just filled those bores up with some WD-40 just to obviously try and get a little bit of lubrication down the sides of those piston rings, and we'll leave that overnight before we even attempt to try and turn it, because now I've got all the gunk out of there and it's just purely WD-40 in there. It's worth letting it soak to obviously give it the best chance, because I think it's going to be all right. I'm quietly confident. I don't see anything wrong with those bores. There's no scores in them, there's no pitting in them, it's just those water stains. I reckon I've dodged a bullet there. I'm well chuffed with that, well chuffed. Right, let's get over on the other side and have a little look at this head. Right, there is a head gasket all sort of wiped over. I can't see anything particularly obvious as to why it would be leaking. That's the back side of it. For you guys that have seen these before, is there anything there that you can see that is wrong or anything like that? Have a good look at that. Maybe pause the video here and take a gander. I'll flip it back over again. It is a Cooper's gasket, so I'm guessing it's original. It says made in England in it. I dare say now probably the only one you can get made is the one from China, but we'll see when we order them up. So there we go, that is the gasket. Can't see anything obviously wrong, but as I say, it's been sitting for a hell of a long time and it may just have all gone manky and look the same. So here's our head. Let me tilt this up and you'll see what horrors lie beneath, apart from all the scale, and you can see the water all the way over. So this is going to need a proper good clean up. I think while I'm here, I'm going to take the valves out and I'll reseat those two, regrind them back in again. Won't do any harm. This one here is the one we've got to get our spark plug out of, which I'm praying, and you can see that on camera. Let me see if I can get a better shot for you. There we go. Right, you can see there the bit of the spark plug just sticking out the electrode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat that up mega hot, and I'm going to get a punch sideways onto it and see if I can dent it inwards, effectively pulling it away from the thread. If I can do that, then I may be able to just peel it away and get it out in one piece with any luck. So that is what I'm going to try and do. I may try and do that now actually while the cylinders are soaking on the engine block. Right, the phenomenon in the MEC-TEC garage continues. You can see we've got one very clean port on the head there now. I've been spending a hell of a lot of time on this, trying to get this old spark plug out, and I've finally got the remnants of it all out. Now, it has been a lot more difficult than I first thought. I'll just put you on there and I'll show you the plug going in so you can see. Where's the plug? There it is. So this does wind in by hand. If my fingers will work, that is. There we go. So it winds in easy. The threads, they're not perfect by any stroke of imagination, to be honest with you, because that old plug had literally welded itself to them threads for whatever reason. Well, we know why, because of the corrosion. But I'll just buzz this in with the electric ratchet. There you go, and I'll just show you it getting tight. So look, I'm putting a fair amount of pressure on it now. That is as tight as it will go without going stupid, and it's done up lovely and tight. So I think, although the threads don't look very nice, they are strong and they are okay. I mean, I'm putting probably more pressure on that than what I really need to, and that is really nice and tight. It'll make a lovely seal as far as the spark plug goes. So I don't think we'll have an issue with the threads. I will just, and do it again now. I will just take this back out and show you the back side of it. Pardon the expression. Put that on there. As I say, I've cleaned up all in here. I've cleaned up around the edge with a Dremel and a little stone wheel, just where obviously I've chipped it a little bit when I was trying to get the other spark plug out, and it's nice and smooth around there now, so it's got a nice smooth sealing surface. Let's spin this round and I'll show you. Oh, get off lump. Compared to the old Reliant heads, this one weighs a ton. Let's get that propped in there like that. I can show you these threads and you'll see what I mean. I've run the spark plugs through all the other ones now as well to clean them up too. So you can see there's our threads in there. Let me come out a little bit and I'll zoom in and it should focus on the threads hopefully. There we go. So you can see the threads. They are a little bit chewed up, but and that's the gouge I did there, which is unfortunate. I couldn't get the plug out the way I wanted it to, so I did have to gouge it a little bit. But if you look up the top there, hopefully you can see that in the camera. The threads are all there all the way around, a bit dirty in places, but they are there. So I'm hoping that will be all right. I think I trust that more than I do putting an insert of any sort in there, because I've had bad luck with helicoils and things like that in the past. So I'm thinking I'm going to leave it like that. It does do up really tight, as you just saw. I'll give that some proper welly and it is lovely and tight. So I think we're going to be okay on that side of things. I'd much rather have, as I say, original threads in there that are 90% okay than having a drilled out and an insert put in which could pull out, which I've had in the past. So there we go. That is hopefully another success on the engine. We've managed to save that spark plug hole, and now we need to do is see if the engine turns over. Right, we're just going to do another little test which my dad suggested to me to do, just to see what these threads are like. Now I've had a quick look online, and supposedly the torque spec for these plugs is about 20 foot-pounds or thereabouts, just over. So I'm going to put it into one of the plug holes that obviously is okay, we know is okay before, and what we'll do, we'll buzz it up like that, and we'll get my torque wrench, which I've got set to 20 foot-pounds, and we'll torque it up, just see what it feels like. And that's barely nothing on that. It's literally, you can see I'm putting virtually no pressure on that, so the torque spec on these plugs is very minimal. Some websites say 28 foot-pounds, so let's just go for broke and just do 30 and see what that's like. There you go, that's 30. It's very minimal difference, to be honest with you. Just show you, look, you can see I'm doing this with one finger. So that's the good hole. Now what we'll do, we'll buzz it back off again and put it into the hole that I've just got the old one out of, that was, the threads are a bit manky on. And obviously see, A, if it torques up to the right spec, and B, what it feels like. I'll get this so it goes in right. Don't want to put it in cross-threaded after all this. That's cross-threaded. Right, hang about. Let's get this. I'll get this going in here right, otherwise I'm going to be in a world of pain again. that's buzzed up. Now I'll put the torque wrench back to 20 foot-pounds, and we'll do that one, 20 foot-pounds. Feels exactly the same. And then we'll buzz this up to 30 foot-pounds just to try it out, which I know is a lot for a plug, but well, it's not really. Yep, that feels exactly the same. Do it with one finger, look. So that hopefully has satisfied my mind and everyone who's watching that them threads are okay. I've done that on a good one and a bad one, not a bad one, but a good one, and the one we had to take the old plug out of that was stuck. And it both torques up to the same amount and feels the same. So I think we're okay. Obviously I like to do things belt and braces, but I don't want to be putting inserts in this engine head unless I really have to, because otherwise, as I say, I've had bad what do you call it, experiences with head studs and things in the past. So there we go. That should be okay. Hopefully that will have satisfied anyone who's watching, and obviously satisfied my mind that it will do up to the same torque spec as the other ones. Top banana. Right, I've got you set up there so you can see the pistons. This is going to be the moment of truth now. Is this engine going to turn? I've got to go around the other side to get into where the crank pulley is easier. Let's see what happens. Hoping and praying it does. It's not going to. That's lock solid. Absolutely lock solid. That's not good. All right, let's just try. And what I'm going to try is put a bigger bar on it for a start. Give me a bit more leverage, hopefully. If that don't work, then we'll actually cut the fan belt off just to make sure that it's not the water pump or whatever that's seized. Let's see if this makes any difference. I've got a bigger bar on it. Just tighten the bolt, I think. Yeah, that's proper lock solid, that is. But as I say, well, let's see if anything moves here. The alternator moves, that's free. The AC compressor, it looks like it's moving. The water pump, however, feels like it's lock solid. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to cut that belt off. It's had it anyway. It needs a new one. Let's cut that belt off, and we'll see if that's what's holding it on there. Right there. Right. Let's get this belt off. Which one's going around the water pump? That one. It's proper crusty, that, isn't it? Proper crusty. I'm hoping it's the water pump that's seized up, but you know, never know. Right, that's now cool. That belt is completely rock solid on there. The water pump, the water pump is free. It's not the water pump that's holding it. Let's try it again. I don't think I'm in gear or anything silly like that. No, it's just tightening the bolt, I think. Where is it? Derek from Vice Grip Garage says it's locked up tighter than county jail. That's a shame. I thought we might have been able to rotate that. The only other thing we could do is get a block of wood down the bores and just give those pistons a very gentle tap to see whether they're just a little bit locked up, and we might be able to free them up with that. Maybe we'll try that. Worth a go, isn't it? Don't think I'm going to do it any harm at this point, so. Alright, let's go around here. You can see as well, pretty much none of that WD-40 has gone anywhere, which means that the rings are properly sealed on it. They are not moving for love nor money. Don't want to hit them any harder than that. That's why I'm using a block of wood. Let's try and turn it again. If that doesn't work, I think we're going to have to give up for the minute, because this video is probably quite long now. It might be that this engine has got to come out after all. Ah! It moved, but it's pushed the liners out. I was hoping that wasn't going to happen. That's not good. I'm going to have to seal the liners back in there now. Now they're all moving. That is not good at all. That is what I was hoping wasn't going to happen. But having said that, I think the way that block is, with all the junk and everything inside it, it's probably good that we take the liners out and reseal them. Obviously they need resealing now anyway, so shame that. Where's my block of wood gone? Just going to see if I can tap them back down again. Joys of old cars, eh? That's not back down again now, it's typical, isn't it? Let's get that ratchet now it moves. Get a slightly smaller ratchet on there, and I have to keep taking the bar on and off to get it to turn. It's a shame those liners are moved, but there's nothing we can do about it. I think it's probably best. Just want to try and get the pistons moving inside them really. Now, why is that not working? Yeah, the liners are just moving. One way of getting the liners out, I suppose. what I was hoping for, but I suppose it's better than being jammed up. These other ones have moved. I think probably what I'm going to have to do is get a ball hone, and we'll hone them out. And obviously then they shouldn't have any issues at all then. I think the pistons are so stuck in those liners that I think they were always going to move unless I clamped them down first, which obviously I didn't do. So just want to get, yeah, see them pistons aren't even, they're not even trying to move inside those liners. Just the whole piston's moving. Okay, well I think we're going to have to leave it there for now. At least, well, I've got 2 out of 4 moving. It's a shame those 2 middle ones didn't move. I think they're well and truly seized on them piston rings, so it may be that we have to do an engine out and a full rebuild on it, or at least a refresh I should say. So yeah, I think we're going to leave it at that for now. I'm not going to go any further than that. Right then, that is going to be it for this episode on MEC-TEC. I appreciate if you're still watching. This has been a long episode, but obviously I wanted to go through all those different things and find out what was going on. In hindsight, maybe I should have clamped down the liners. I have had it in the past where the engine turns over fine, the liners don't move. But in this case, as you would have seen when I was trying to just tap the liners with a piece of wood after just to knock them down, they are absolutely welded to the piston rings. They are not moving for love nor money, so they were never going to move in there, I don't think. I think we'd be very hard pushed and probably would have ended up damaging something if I'd have carried on trying to crank it and clamp the liners down. So anyway, you live and learn. Perhaps I should have clamped them down, but we'll reseat it now anyway, because we're this far into it with that head gasket and all that gunk that was coming out the block, the bars leak or whatever is in there. It weren't healthy, and I think it probably would have always had problems with it overheating if we hadn't done what we're doing now, and also doing the liners will probably help that, because it means I can clean it all out nice and do it all properly. So it looks like the engine may have to come out of the Lotus as well. Yet another car in bits. Not ideal at the moment, but there we go. Is what it is, unfortunately. I just wanted to see what was going on. I think I'm going to put all the bits in the boot for now, and obviously make sure they're all safe and label all the bags up, and then I can go back to it and I'll know roughly where I'm at. We had success with the head on the spark plug. I think that'll be okay. I'm in an iron whether I should put an insert into it, but I'm kind of leaning towards leaving well alone. The threads that are there are okay, so I think that should be okay. I'm not really sure what we're going to do next on this. I'm sort of in a bit of a tiz at the moment, as after finding out about those liners and whatever else. They're more than reusable, assuming that there's no damage done to them when we do eventually get those pistons free, and maybe we can run out one like a ball hone or whatever through them to make sure that they're all clean and everything else. So it should be okay. Fingers crossed, otherwise I'm going to be buying new liners for it as well, which is not ideal. Anyway, I'm waffling. If you do like what you see, make sure you do those 4 things for me: like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell. It's all free, it costs you absolutely nothing, and really helps me out on the channel. I do really appreciate it. Remember, I've got Instagram, MEC_TEC1985, and I have got Facebook, MEC-TEC, for a little sneak peek during the week of what I'm up to. And all that's left for me to say is thank you very much for watching, and if you want to join me soon for more mechanical mayhem and automotive adventures, I'll see you again next time. Cheers guys.